Welcome to the Your Family Dog podcast, where we celebrate the special bond between families and their canine companions. Our goal is to help families and dogs grow up together, one episode at a time. Welcome back to the Your Family Dog podcast. Today, I'm joined by Patrice Karst. Hopefully, I'm saying that correctly.
Said it great.
Yay! And she has written many children's books on the subject of bereavement. And so the first book that I found when I was doing a little bit of research was The Invisible String, and reached out to Patrice. And that brings us to our conversation today. So welcome to the podcast, Patrice.
Thank you so much for having me, Tina. And it's nice to meet you and your audience here. And I wanted to just say one thing. Even though my book, The Invisible String, the one you referenced, is like one of the number one books for children for bereavement, my books are not necessarily about bereavement, with the exception of The Invisible Leash, because that book specifically is about the loss of our animals. The Invisible String, it was sort of a surprise. It was never meant to be a bereavement book. It just, because of the one page where the children are asking how far does their invisible string reach, and mom says, yeah, it can reach all the way to Uncle Brian in heaven, changed the whole trajectory of that book. But anyway, just to say that. But I'm so happy to be here and to talk about the Invisible Leash and about our beloved animals, which are, as you know, as a dog person,
Oh, yes.
they're our beloveds. They're our children. They are our family members. So anyway, I'm rambling on.
No,
Please.
you're doing great. So The Invisible String, when I read it, one of the things that really struck me, I was a human foster parent for a period of time and then adopted a child from social services here in Georgia. And she's amazing. She's like, I got the best one in the whole world. But The Invisible String really spoke to me about that her connections, not just with me, but with all of her family in all of its different forms, is a connection that's unbroken. And that she didn't have to think that loving in our family meant that she didn't have a connection to her family of the past. And I just think that's a beautiful message. Again, whether someone is alive or you've lost them to death, you're still connected. I just thought it was a beautiful book, which is like, you were my number one choice for who I wanted to bring on the podcast, because I just thought you wrote in such a beautiful way that it would bring peace to maybe a child who's missing grandma or missing their dad or missing their stepmom or their sister or their friend that they met at camp that they don't get to see every day. So
Exactly.
what brought you to writing the book, The Invisible String?
Well, so the original book on the Invisible String, which was my first children's book, I had already written a couple of adult spiritual books, which is another whole subject. But um, although they're all interwoven, but I wasn't planning on writing a children's book, but I was a working single mom. And when I would bring my son Elijah to school in the morning to drop off, he would cry. He had really bad separation anxiety. And, it was really super painful for both of us every day. And so one day I just told him that we were connected all day by an invisible string, and that if he missed me, he just needed to pull on the string and I would feel it in my heart and I would tug it back and he'd feel it in his heart. But that we were basically together all day, connected by this invisible string. And this concept for him just was like, the light bulb going off. His separation anxiety disappeared. um, he was full of questions, as were, his friends. Well, where does the string go? And can it go to my uncle Enrique, who lives in Mexico? Can it go to my hamster, Wilbur, that died? Can it go to, like you said, my friend that moved away? Can it go to, the questions were unending. And I realized I had something very, very special on my hands, which was this very tangible explanation for children of what love and connection is. Like we just say it like, oh, we'll be connected all day. I love you, honey. I'll see you soon. But for kids, this concept of a string that you can't see, but that could. So I started playing with it in my head. I thought I got to write this as a children's book because this could help a lot of kids. Interestingly, when I wrote it, um, that one page that turned it into the number one grief book for children and then led to the Invisible Leash, which we'll talk about in a minute. Um, the publisher did not want that page in there. And basically what's happening right in the invisible string is the children are learning about their invisible string and how far can it go? Can it go down if I was a submarine captain deep in the ocean? Can it go to outer space? Can it go to animals? Can it go, and mom's the answer is yes, even there, even there, even there. And this world of revelation that we're all connected by love, to the people we love. And then what happens, right? The kids ask, Mom, can my string reach all the way to Uncle Brian in heaven? And mom says, yes, even there. And that one word, heaven, and Brian and the balloon going up, made it, along with favorite Valentine's Day book and, baby shower book and going away book and first day of school. But, besides all those things, the book started being heavily used in the grief world for children and therapy for separation anxiety. But the part I was going to tell you that was interesting was the publisher didn't want that page in the book. He didn't want any reference to death in a children's book. He thought it was too heavy. And I had to fight to keep that page in there because to me, that was how I showed the power of the invisible string that not only can it go everywhere in this world, but it can go beyond. It can go anywhere. Love transcends time and space, period. It's a superpower of the whole galaxy. So I fought. He acquiesced, thank goodness for both of us and for the millions now of people that have read The Invisible String. So, yeah, it's just a little backstory. But yeah, it cured my son's separation anxiety, wrote it as a book, got published, and took off. Used in the military, for deployed families, the prison system, as you mentioned, foster groups, adoption groups, hospitals, hospices, uh, church sermons, temple services. It's just like this. It's just love, really. It's just a book about
Right.
love.
But it was such a beautiful way to explain it, right? And I actually like that. I mean, I knew that I was looking at it as a book to help with bereavement, but the book doesn't really like it. That's such a tiny piece.
Mhm.
It really is about that beautiful interconnectedness and that it doesn't know any boundaries,
That's right. That's
which
exactly right.
is a beautiful gift to the world. So I don't know if you've ever heard of the book, The Runaway Bunny. But that's a big one that we use, in fostering and in adoption work, that
Mhm.
no matter where the baby bunny goes, the mama bunny will accommodate it, right? So if the baby bunny decides to learn to fly, mom will become a kite, right?
Oh.
So it is like you can run away from my love all you want to, but
Mhm.
my love is big and strong and it will find a way to connect with you, right? So this is another um another layer of that onion,
Mhm.
but a sweet, sweet onion
Mhm.
of connectedness and interconnectedness. And I think I know in my practice as a dog trainer, I talk to lots of moms and dads and grandmas and grandpas about the loss of humans or pets with their children and having great resources that are like, okay, well, I'm a dullard, but here are these amazing books that may help you has been truly a gift to the world. So I'm grateful and wanted to make sure that you
Mhm.
knew how grateful I am.
Thank you.
So, what made you write The Invisible Leash?
So, The Invisible Leash, interestingly, was written during the time that my little wiener dog, Coco, was going to be passing. It was inevitable. She was, old and getting very sick. So, the reason I wrote the book, though, the timing just was quite fascinating, and I think it helped me craft the book, was that a lot of people wrote to me that were big fans of The Invisible String and said, "Have you ever thought about writing a book that was specific to the loss of our animals?" And even though it was covered in the invisible string and still used for loss of beloved animals, beloved pets, um, it got me thinking, and that's when I wrote The Invisible Leash. And luckily, my publisher loved it and published it. Um, and it's been out. I forget what year it came out. Actually, wait, I have a copy here. I think it came out in 2020, 2019. So not that many years, and it is already now one of the number one pet loss books for children. And I could not be more thrilled because it's a very special niche. The love of an animal is something that it's so hard, right, to describe, but everyone that's ever had an animal knows what it is. So it has brought a lot of comfort. I've gotten in the same way that I got, and I get, just hundreds, thousands of letters of readers from around the world. Because the Invisible String, by the way, has sold over 2 million copies now, and it's in 21 languages. So
Wow.
that phenomena, that love train is just not slowing down. The Invisible Leash, just so thrilled because it really has touched the hearts of animal lovers everywhere. And I get beautiful letters from um, people telling me how much it comforted them, and adults. That's what's so interesting. A lot of adults buy it for either themselves or for other adults that have lost an animal, because really, how complicated does it need to be? We're all children at heart, and they were our children. So, this picture book seems to just be able to touch the sweet spot and remind animal owners, animal families that have lost their beloved creature, that they are all still connected by an invisible leash. And in the book, as Zach and Emily, the children, the main characters, are discussing this leash that Zach at first doesn't believe in, but Emily does, because when she lost her cat, Rexy, she was told about the invisible leash, and she's explaining it now to Zach, who's a disbeliever. And he says, I don't see it, and anyway, Jojo, his dog, liked to be free, didn't even like his leash. And Emily's like, but it's not a leash that connects our bodies. It's a leash that connects our hearts. And when our animal passes over, there's this invisible leash that is forever there, but they're running free. And the art in the book is beautiful too. And then Zach, of course, has another question, but you know, you know, guinea pigs don't never used a leash, my guinea, and anyway, so we get the concept that the invisible leash is really something that connects our hearts to our beloved creatures that have passed over, and that's a very comforting concept. And not only is it comforting, it's true. It's true.
Exactly. I always, tend to shy away from, I mean, I love a good metaphor or a good parable as much as the next guy, but I do think that sometimes, at least when I was growing up, there was a little bit of, being dishonest with children, when a animal passed away, saying like, "Oh, he went to live on a farm somewhere," or, "Oh, he ran away," or whatever.
Well,
Um, and I that never fit very well in my heart. I think children are very perceptive, and especially children today, like, they're light years ahead of where I think we often expect them to be. So they can and you're absolutely right. I have made a career out of making convoluted concepts that are big scientific concepts into easy to digest, like, how do we boil this down to its essence so that I can convey that information in a meaningful way to a family. Now, some people want me to dig in all the science, and that's all great. I'm happy to have that conversation, but the average family doesn't. They just kind of want the quick and dirty, like Cliff Notes version, to date myself.
Right,
I don't even
right.
do they even make Cliff Notes anymore? I think now they make something else,
There's some
but
digital version.
right, some digital version, exactly.
Yeah,
So would they Google it? So, uh, but I think the concepts are, you're right. There are big, amazing, bold concepts that we can explain in very simple terms. Uh, to be fair, I think this probably works great with Alzheimer's and dementia patients too. I think
absolutely.
children's books just
Yeah.
are so clean in the concepts that they're presenting, or maybe distilled, right? They're distilled
Everything
down
we
to their
everything we ever needed
is in
and
a
need
kid's
to
book.
learn. That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
And it's interesting you said that about big concepts made simple because I have a book coming out in February, um, called God Made Easy. It's an adult book. It's not a kid's book. It's an adult book that's another whole story that I woke up from a dream on November 11th, 1995, and I saw these words hovering in the air. And I'm not religious per se. I'm very spiritual. I'm very just, I believe in love and goodness and God by called by many different names. Whatever, whatever. And that was, anyway, the long story short is I saw this title. This little boy said, get a notebook. I ended up writing this book. It got published by a huge publisher in 1997, called God Made Easy. And then after a few years, that publishing division dissolved. I got the rights to the book back, and I spent the next 25 years trying to get another deal for it. 25 years later, I finally did, and it's being republished, brand new version, in
Congratulations.
February, and it's called God Made Easy. So talk about big concepts made easy, right? Apparently that really is my jam is, big things, but distill it because in this world, oh, the pace we're living in right now, we are being bombarded with so much information and so many choices. Like I'm guilty. I'm scrolling, for hours, and I've got my little screen here. I've got my big screen here. I've got my computer screen there. I've got screens and books and information coming through, and so we need things simple, and kids need things simple. And here's the important piece that you mentioned. Kids need to be able to safely talk about death because children do know that death exists, or they start to become aware of it, and they need a safe place to explore that. They hear the word death. They hear that someone died. They hear it as they're passing the TV on the news. They see a dead bird on the side of the road or a dead bug. Death exists. A grandparent passes. And the sooner you can start that conversation, I think the better. By the same way with the invisible leash, I mean, obviously it is, a lot of people buy it as a bereavement gift for someone that has lost their animal. Um, and a lot of families will buy it as a book just to bring up the discussion, yeah, like it doesn't have to be after the animal has died, although it actually works beautifully as a comforting balm for that time. But some families will have it on hand because um, I just think it's super, super important, like you said, to be truthful. That the animal or the beloved person hasn't just gone to a farm or
Exactly.
left town.
And I
So
love the idea of preparing children to a certain extent ahead of time, to just discuss these concepts, right? It's
exactly.
so I turn 56 next month, and
Mm.
I went through a time in my life about 18 months in 2019 and 2018 where I lost 3 dogs and
Mm.
my beloved grandmother, all in this 18 months. And
Mhm.
there was a lot of other loss too. Like I had customers who had passed away or
Mm.
acquaintances. But I think that summer I went to there was 1 week that I went to 4 funerals in a week. And it was just gutting, right?
Yeah.
Like I just walked around in a
Mm.
stupor.
Mm.
And Then I had the epiphany, oh, when I was younger, death was relatively infrequent in my universe, right?
Mhm,
It wasn't touching me regularly. But as I'm getting older,
mhm.
grief is going to become a more
Yeah,
constant companion. And I need to be in a mind space where that deep sorrow is the flip side of deep, amazing love. And I don't think it's ever anything that we celebrate, but to get to a place where I had peace about it and that I wasn't complaining about the sorrow, because that sorrow was attached to amazing, abiding love.
mm,
And I'm so grateful for that experience. So
mm.
just realizing that as I age, grief will be a more constant companion until I am the one grieved.
Yes,
And
yeah,
that is a maturational system development that all of us go through.
yes,
And
yes.
so, and especially now, we insulate ourselves from death so much that we're not really prepared, right? We don't have
Mhm.
people often now don't age at home with family and
No.
and then have services at home. There's, a whole industry about kind of sterilizing death and getting us all like one step away from it, or at least.
Mhm.
So I think that it's something that it is important to talk about with kids
Yeah,
because it
yeah.
happens to all of us.
That's right, and they will experience death, and they'll have questions, and, you know, the more open you can be, but I think that's why, you know, let's face it, children are already coming into a world that is complex, confusing, chaotic, okay? Lots of incredible beauty, lots of incredible wonderment, but it's a tough world they're coming into that they're living in right now. The more comfort, the more comforting, the more safety they can feel in this really obstacle course world, the better chances that it'll bode well for them in adulthood and beyond to be comforted. So when I wrote The Invisible String, I would get some letters. I mean, obviously, I get, like I told you, I get letters from all over the world, and they're just incredible. I mean, the book has just affected so many people in ways I and my son could have never ever dreamt. But I had some people, and I've seen reviews where people, like on Amazon, where people say, "Oh, why did she have to go and use that word heaven?" You know, like it's a now it's a it's a she's obviously it's religious, and I really honestly never was not meant to be religious. Heaven, the word heaven is just a comforting word, if you will, for children. You know, like it's I to me, it's universal and it's comforting, but in The Invisible Leash, we call it the great beyond. And maybe since that doesn't have any kind of religious connotation,
Right.
and it's all the same thing to me. Call it what you will, the other side, the great beyond, heaven,
Right.
the spirit world, the rainbow bridge, you know,
Right.
there's something beyond this earthly plane that I believe and know to be true, that our loved humans and our loved animals go until our time of final reunion, when we too go to wherever and whatever you want to call that
Exactly.
realm beyond this earthly plane. Um, but while we're here, we grieve. And grief is real and it's painful and it sucks. And I'm so moved and honored when people write to me and talk to me about how the books have helped their families. And at the same time, I know and they know that nothing replaces the physical presence. Yes, it's beautiful to have that concept now of an invisible leash or invisible string, and it doesn't replace it, but it sure helps. And I've done that with all my books. You know, most a lot of people don't realize, that I've written 11 books, nine for children, and
Wow.
one that came out that can also be so helpful for families is How Jackson Found His Joy Again, which came out this year, came out in May, which is all about, when children feel sad and how they become kind of gray inside and they lose all their bright, vibrant colors because they're feeling sad, and how this little boy goes and finds all his colors again. And that's beautiful. So if any of your listeners want to know about my books, they can find me. I'll give my website, if you want at the end, when we
Absolutely.
finish
We'll
up.
put
But
it in
yeah,
the show notes.
I love to stay connected to my readers. And so yeah, that would be awesome.
I think it's I I really think that you're right. With the world complicated, and it always has been, right? It's
Yeah.
just in a different pair of pants for each generation.
Just faster now, though. It's faster.
Oh, and
Way
and
faster.
I'm grateful every day that I am not actively parenting littles
Mm,
right now. Like,
mhm.
there's so much that
Yeah,
I'm like, "Oh,
yeah.
I don't know how I would navigate all
Mhm,
the different ways that families get pushed and pulled and then judged." Like, I think being a parent today is hard, right? And they're doing it great, right? Like, I see so many parents who just are phenomenal with their kids. They're just great, and they're raising amazing adults, right? I love that that shift has happened, that it appears families are figuring out that it's not like when I was being raised, where if you everything was about raising a child and kind of keeping them the world, insulating them from the world.
mhm.
What I see now is parents that, in a appropriate way, are introducing their children how to navigate the world. Because again, like, it shouldn't have taken me 50 plus years to figure out that the reason that grief was becoming a more constant companion was that that was normal and natural and it was going to happen. Those
That's right.
concepts could have been discussed when I lost my great uncle when I was 8. Like, we could have introduced all of these thoughts and
Mhm.
all of this, like, how do you grapple with these big things, these big hurts that we have in life, and not let them inform our life, but not let them control our life,
That's right. That's right. And
right?
to
So,
reflect after
I can't wait. I had not found
Jackson found his joy
how
again.
Jackson found his joy again. That's an amazing way,
Oh,
because it's
it's
exactly how sorrow and sadness and
yeah,
depression feel.
the book came out and I guess people just, I need people to find out about it. And like I said, when we were talking before we started the program, I'm not great at self-marketing and promoting. It's
Me
kind of,
neither.
but here I am. Yeah, no. And also, I don't know if you know, but also in September of this year, the Invisible String Family Celebration came out. And that's the same story basically as The Invisible String. It's a reimagined version where the book features the same story, but this time told from all different families, all different types of families, races, religions, walks of life across the world. So
Right.
each piece of the story is another family discussing that story. It's very, very beautiful. And yeah, no, I that's apparently I write the books that would have been helpful for me when I
Well,
was
I
growing.
think
Right.
I think that's part of, like, being a grown adult is going, "Wait, I'm gonna be in the world what my heart needed when I was a little,"
Yeah.
right? I endeavored, failed like everyone else, but I endeavored to really be for my daughter a soft place for her to land, even if I was frustrated with her, even if she was frustrated with me. And that when I people used to say, "Well, what are you using, like, how are you parenting her?" And I just kept saying, if when she lays her head down at night, she knows that there is not a little girl whose mama loves her more than I love her, then I have done my job,
Mm.
right? The rest of
I
it
felt
kind of
the same way.
sorts
I
itself
felt,
out,
yeah, yeah, I
right?
felt
Like,
the same way.
and she's a grown adult. She's a mama herself. She's a wife. She's a good citizen. She's
Mhm.
beautiful. She's smart. She's funny. And she puts marbles in jars just like her mama. Like
Mhm.
I endeavor to live my values and integrity, which means I show up even when I kind of sort of don't want to. And I just try to love the people around me.
Mhm.
And some people make that harder than others.
Yes.
But I can
Yes.
have grace for that too, right?
Mhm.
Like, there was a time that I probably wasn't really all that receptive to someone
Mhm.
trying to love me because I was carrying around a lot of pain. And
Mhm.
again, I think these are concepts that I watch in my practice every day.
Mhm.
Parents navigate with really little kids, and the
Yeah.
kids get it.
Mm.
And they'll tell me because they all think I'm funny too because I'm like everybody's grandma. My grandchildren are spread to the winds, so I get to spoil the littles in my world, uh, which is a delight. But I do think that there's some of our maturity feeds how we love th- these families that are coming up and helping them. I always say, like, my mama screwed it up her way. I screwed it up my way. My
Right.
daughter will screw it up her way, and
That's
hopefully
right.
Hopefully, we're
That's
always
right.
screwing it up a little bit better.
As long as love is there, the rest can all be worked out, you know? As long as love is there. So, love is the great equalizer. So, well, it's been, so awesome to connect with you.
Yes,
And
and whenever you have children's books that are coming out, if you'd like to come on the podcast and tell us about them, even if it's just a quick little 15-minute, I'm totally down with that. That would be great. I'm
that would
sure
be nice.
I always like, um, connecting, and
Yeah.
you and I now have an invisible string
Yes,
to
we
all of
do.
the listeners.
Yes,
So
we do.
anytime you'd like to come on and talk about what you're working on, whether it's for adults or kids, I think it's great. I'm going to have to go to the library and get your
Uh,
books and
oh.
learn more because it was wonderful spending this time with you.
Oh, it was great spending time with you and your audience. And they can find me on the interwebs at patricekarst.com, that, or the invisiblestring.com also brings them there. So,
Yeah, you were not difficult to find. Some
oh,
authors
that's
are
good. I'm so
difficult to
glad
find.
to hear that. I'm so glad to hear that.
So before I let you go,
Mhm.
I do know, like, most of us have a kiddo that we know who's like a bookworm, right? Who wants to be an author, who has big
Mhm.
feelings about things and wants to learn how to become an author. Can you talk a little bit about what that journey was for you?
Oh, wow. Sure.
If it's too personal, you don't have to
No,
answer.
no, it's not too personal. It's just it's a long story. The first book, I told you I woke up from a dream and saw the title God Made Easy, and I woke up and wrote it in an hour and got a publishing deal. So, that
Wow.
was like a crazy, crazy, you know, beautiful, splendid, spectacular miracle. Other books each book has had its own, its own story of how it came to me. The Invisible String, I already told you, and the Invisible Leash. So, what I would say to anyone that wants to be an author is, you know, first of all, everything starts with an idea, and we all get ideas all the time, and sometimes we don't act on them, and sometimes we do. For me, certain ideas, they come, they go, and then there'll be the ones that something presses upon me, like, wait, you got to do something with this idea. So I tell people, if you get an idea that just keeps something, it stirs in you something that's different than all the other ideas, do something with it. Play with that idea. Take it, what does it want? What wants to happen with this idea? Um, Writing is a blessing for me, but I'm not someone that just I am a natural writer. I mean, I'm very long-winded, as you can probably tell. And I write long emails and I love crafting with words. I've been doing it ever since I was a little girl, writing poetry and journals and song lyrics. And I've always written, but the act of sitting down to write, a book, I'm not the most disciplined person in that way. So for me, the idea has to come, and that's when the muse takes over and says, okay, sit down, do something with this one. Some go on to fruition and become published books. Some are still sitting that never, for whatever the reason, didn't get a publishing deal. And that's the other thing about writers and people submitting out there is it's all so subjective, and you can have one publisher say to you, yeah, this didn't really strike me, and another one say, this is the most incredible thing. And there's, you just have to do it. You have to do the thing. I have a lot of people that say to me when they meet me and they find out I'm an author, oh, I've got a book inside of me, and I'm like, well, you might want to get it outside of you and onto the
Exactly.
page, onto the screen. So just do it. If something moves you, um, do something with it.
I think that's absolutely fantastic advice. Like, get it out.
Yeah, get it
Better
out.
out than in.
Yeah, better out than in.
True. I say that to children all the time. Better out than in. Like,
And it's creative, and it's fun, and when you let yourself go with it, um, you never know what might happen. So it's been a very
so
incredible
some of
yeah.
oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, no, that's okay.
So some of the books that you haven't gotten published yet, I'm gonna use the yet because I believe in yet, but, um, do you think sometimes the whole point was for you to write it for you? To organize your thoughts, to
Yeah,
move through developmental stages?
yeah, maybe so. I mean, they say that we teach that which we most needed to learn. We write, we do all.
Absolutely.
I think we're always on some level wanting to heal whatever was unhealed within us. So sure, but
Right.
it's not how I don't set out with those
Of
intentions. I don't.
course.
What did I feel like as a child? I just, because I write lots of things that have, you know, as a child, I also was fascinated by the stars and the galaxies. And, if I could have my druthers, I would just write children's books that take place on other planets. And, maybe I
That
will.
might be fun.
Maybe I need to do a picture book that takes place on another planet.
I'd
Yeah.
totally be buying that. Yeah, that sounds like fun. I
It could be called Out of This World.
well
Uh,
there's that,
yeah.
right? I
Yeah.
I don't know. There will probably when I'm long gone, there will probably be a day that we are going to other planets, and
Yeah.
there will be things out of this world, and
Yes,
that's
for
okay.
sure. For sure. But while we're in this world, let's just all
Love one
love each
another.
other,
Right,
talk
take a
to each
breath.
other about the big things like birth and death and love and sadness, because sadness is real and that's okay to be talking about, and loneliness is real and that's okay to be talking about. I have another book called Ruby and Lonely, which came out I think 2 years ago, about a little girl who's lonely. She's just lonely. Everyone's busy. Her brother and sister are older, they're gone,
Yeah.
mom and dad are busy, the kids at school don't notice her, and she's lonely, and she becomes her own best friend, and it's a powerful story too. But, yeah, anyway, it's been so
So
fun being
so
here.
it's interesting because we when I first moved to Georgia, we had friends who had kids that were, like, just on the cusp of adolescence, and spent a ton of time with them. They were our surrogate family. They loved us. We loved them. Like, it was wonderful. It was a wonderful soft place to land moving from another part of the country to Athens. And as their kids grew, I got to hear some of the parents' frustrations with their teenagers. And I didn't have kids at the time. And from the outside, what I kept hearing over and over distilled down to you miss your kid, right? Like, this is back in the era of Friends. So it was a minute ago. Um, but they had had a family tradition that on Thursday nights, they popped popcorn and they all sat around and they watched Friends together and they laughed for an hour because that's what you do watching Friends. And as their daughter specifically, I remember, was growing up, she was spending more time in her room and talking on the phone with her friends and just being a teenager and doing her own things. And her mom would get really frustrated. She's always in her room, blah, blah, blah. And I said, okay, well, have you tried saying to her, like, hey, Friends is coming on pretty soon because at that point it was still playing, right? Like they were in, season number 273. I said, you might want to try just going to her, knocking on her bedroom door, interrupting whatever teenage thing she's doing. And when she says yes, open the door and say, Friends starts in half an hour. And it just made me think about how much I loved when we all used to pop popcorn and watch Friends together. And I just wanted you to know that that meant a lot to me and I miss it. And so if you miss it too, I'm going to be watching Friends and I'll go pop the popcorn. If you've got other things to do, I understand you're a teenager, you've got other things, if you're talking to your friends, I get it, that's cool. But I just wanted you to say, I just wanted to have you know that I miss you sometimes, even though we're in this life together.
Hmm.
And just tell her you love her and leave.
Yeah.
And that changed. Like just that little conversation with her daughter really changed how they were connecting. And that they, my experience from the outside was that mom was and dad were complaining about missing their kid, missing those times when our kids are little and they're with us all the time and driving us nutty, but we love it and we miss it when that changes. And you don't really ever know when the last time you're going to watch the show together
That's right.
is going to happen. That's how life is. So I see, I guess maybe I've seen behavior through a different lens for a long time. And it's part of what drew me to your book was
Mm,
that I was like, this is that similar vibration
thank you.
of like, ooh, we're not talking about like, let's talk about the real thing, which is the connection we all have that
Mm,
goes beyond death. It goes beyond however many miles away we are, what time zone we're in, and busy. Like busy is its own time zone, I think.
that's
Like it's a warp.
Yeah.
So
Love is forever. And it
exactly.
and
So
it
thank you so much for
yeah.
spending your precious time with me.
Oh, thank you so much for having me and God bless you. And just keep loving. That's it. That's all
And I
that's
hope
all
you'll
I'll say.
join us again one day. Maybe
Oh,
you'll
love
even let us turn on the cameras. Because,
oh,
okay, so y'all, Patrice was not comfortable with a video. I can tell you, because I get to see her while we're recording, that she's stunning.
oh.
Like, she has this amazing hair that's like its own character in the story. Like, it's
It's the
amazing.
character. Well, it was in the morning and, yeah,
No, I'm not.
nothing
I'm
I
not.
do a lot of Zooms. I do a
No,
lot
no,
of
no. I'm not criticizing.
Okay.
I'm just saying I hope one day.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, my hair does have its own have it
It's
a life
wonderful.
of its own. All right.
Exactly.
Lovely, lovely, lovely to meet you,
Have a
and,
great day.
we will
Thanks.
talk again. All right.
Okay.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. That's it for today's episode. Thank you so much for spending part of your precious day with us. If you enjoyed the show, be sure to follow, rate, subscribe so that you never miss an episode. We'd love to hear from you. Connect with us on social media or email us at yourfamilydogpodcast@gmail.com. We'll see you soon.